I recall a study that looked at alcoholism and those who went to AA, and typically, even if they're able to stop taking the alcohol, is that, say, years later, if some traumatic event pops up, if they don't have a belief in a higher power or something that's beyond themselves, then they tend to resort back to alcohol. And I find that interesting and can see a relation of psychedelics and our connection to whether it's a God or the universe. It's something outside of ourselves.
Love that. I know Bill W., who started Alcoholics Anonymous, wanted LSD to be part of the protocol. In his words, he's like, oh, well, these drunks need a spiritual experience, and it's going to be hard for them, but if we can force that spiritual experience, they can take that first step. It's kind of interesting to think about. And it's different than the churches that we were all raised with. It's not about picking Judaism versus Catholicism or Presbyterian versus Methodist or Buddhist versus Islamic. It's a direct religious experience and a knowing without dogma that there's more to life than this. This is not it. And then with that knowing, yeah, you can see maybe the drinking's not so good for me. Maybe the whatever's not so good for me. Let's go back for a minute. You talked for a second about having some pretty significant childhood adversity, both parents being alcoholics. If I remember correctly, I think you went to foster care pretty young as well. And then you've pushed yourself to became an overachiever. Yep. It's interesting in our culture that how we look at different personality traits. So many of people who are type A personalities and overachievers, that is born of some type of trauma or some type of need to prove something to somebody. And we look at the person who is unable to get out of bed and is very sad. It's like, oh, that poor person, and they're not okay. And we don't look at the person on the cover of the magazine or running the company who's working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, as you did, and say, well, what's causing that person to kind of put all their effort into work? We just don't do that. We celebrate that type of behavior, trauma-soothing behavior. And I think that's interesting. I think a number of us, and I assume people who listen to your podcast are probably more in the type A organized type of thing. And yeah, I think saying to them, it is normal to have trauma and be an overachiever. It is normal to have things that are challenging and be an overachiever. And you don't have to live like that all the time. There's other ways to address that. Yeah.
There was an executive at my previous company that we hired who actually used to be an alcoholic. And then he became a workaholic. And like the work became his new addiction. And he was amazing in so many regards for the company. But in some ways, it was also a sacrifice or a transition. He had to shift his addiction from one to another. And certainly for me growing up, I needed that validation because I was picked on, I was bullied. I wanted to prove to everybody that I could be successful and that I didn't need money or assistance in doing so. And now, even many 15 plus years later, I still have this deep feeling of this need for validation. And that kind of drives some of my decision making. It drives my anxiety of, do I want to go to this event? And granted, I've been able to overcome a lot of that through the years, but there is so much trauma. And especially with that, as you say, like type A productive community, I think in some ways that also drives the loneliness, that the burnout, the languishing, where you just feel like you're not able to be the person that you idealize, but what you fail to recognize is that person you idealize is unsustainable, and it's created as a function of what society tells you that you should idealize.
Yes, and that's based, and that is root of that teaching. That is what we all swim in, is scarcity. We are told from the time we're very young, first to give up our power. Give it up to our parents, give it up to the doctors, give it up to the teachers, give it up to the bosses. And we're told that there's not enough. You got to get what's yours. You have to work hard to achieve, to be something, to prove yourself. You have to live up to your potential. And it's story after story after story that's rooted in scarcity. And we're not told there is plenty for everyone. There's enough. That you don't have to work hard, work enjoyably. You don't have to live up to your potential. Satisfy the energy in your body and where it wants to go. We are so far beyond as a society making a living. Now it's about making an opulent life. But we don't have to. We don't have to work the amount of hours we're working. We don't have to work the types of jobs that aren't meaningful because we want some more things. No, that's silliness. But we're not given permission. And if we're not, and I know for me, I felt guilt if I wasn't working and I could be making X per hour. I'm letting my family down. I'm letting me down. I'm not living up doing everything I can do. And I didn't feel like I had the permission to just stop. Like, enough. No. I want to spend more time with my kids or with my wife or with my friends. I won't even have friends. I went through a long period of time where I worked. I got up, I got in the car, I worked, I came back, I had dinner, had some time with the family, watched a show, went to bed. There was no time for friends. Weekends, maybe. Vacations, maybe. But that wasn't living. That was hoarding. And it was also it was working to win people's affection. By building businesses and having employees and doing things, I was saying, like me, love me. And I needed that. I fed off of that. Versus knowing, no, I'm good enough right now. I feel great. Like me, don't like me, it's okay. It's very, very different. And that's something I'm really grateful for the psychedelics for helping me see. And then also grateful for the teachers who keep reminding me that, okay, you've had these moments of awareness. How do you integrate? How do you keep that awareness? How do you move forward with your life? Most of life not being on the psychedelic.